What is up, YouTube gang? Today is going to be a very interesting episode. I've got kind of a long one planned out. You could say it's a special because it's going to be like 30 minutes or something. So if you don't got that time, do what you got to do with the rest of your life. But if you want to stick around, here we go. This episode of V-Talks is going to be about if I was a supervillain. If I had a very particular set of powers, if I could choose however it goes, if I was a supervillain, this would be me, essentially. This character's name, or this villain's name, my supervillain name would be Machiavellian. The definition of Machiavellian is cunning, scheming, unscrupulous, especially in politics. A person who schemes in a Machiavellian way would be kind of the way to use it. So this character obviously is more of a psychological type villain than a physical beat-em-up type, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's incapable, and you'll see what I mean when I start describing more of his power set. So what are his powers then? Power number 1, dimensional travel. Machiavellian can travel through space by pretty much warping where his position is in whatever dimension he's at. So he can really just kind of teleport anywhere as far as where he's standing, where he's attacking, what he can see. He can dimensionally move himself or parts of himself to different places, and most of his powers stem from that ability. So power number 2, stemming from the first one, phasing. He can teleport his body to a alternate dimension which is parallel to the one that we're in. So if you went to attack him, punch him, throw something at him, it would just go right through him as if he wasn't there, because he's technically not. The only thing that is there is the appearance of him. The rest of him is in a parallel dimension which you can only perceive him in. And power number 3, clairvoyance. So with the first 2 powers, he can teleport his vision or his sight to any location he can fathom, any location or any person he's trying to perceive or watch. He can pretty much teleport his vision to see them. Same with hearing, so he can hear wherever. You know, that sounds like a weird power, but in tandem with his vision, he has clairvoyance of just being able to watch people from a distance. He can just watch, the President of the United States just in his office doing whatever he's doing from wherever Machiavellian just decides to be looking at somebody at the time. He can just observe them. And power number 4 is more or less just the first one, but it's a practical use of it, which is scary. Power number 4 is dimensional prison. He can grab somebody, whoever he's trying to detain, get a hold of them, and then teleport himself and them to a parallel dimension that is just nothing. There's nothing there. It's just a dimension of just ground. It's just a black world of just nothing but this flat black ground. And leave them there and then teleport away, and then they're stuck there. It's not necessarily a power beyond the first one, but it's a use he would make for people. Oh, I want to kidnap the president. Boom, he's now here. He can't go anywhere. There's nowhere to go. He could walk around that nothingness planet for years and just still be there. So Machiavellian has his own place that he could detain people for his uses of coercion or making a ransom. Yeah, that sort of thing. He would definitely have that place for that. Now, power number 5 didn't come from his other powers. It didn't come originally with him. Power number 5 is regeneration. What he would have done to have gotten this power is realize, hey, I'm pretty untouchable most of the time, but I can still be hit, and if I am, that's going to do some damage. And second, he's going to be aging whether he can teleport or not. So unless he went to a dimension that, people age slower, he would need to have a longevity of his plan to come into action. So regeneration, he would have found a scientist and a group of scientists perhaps and said, this is what you're going to do. You are going to give me this ability, and you're going to test it, and you're going to make sure it works. And if you don't, I'm going to take care of your family in a way that you would not like me to take care of them. So of course, they're just going to have to listen to him. What are they going to do? Stop him? So he has regeneration on top of his other abilities. And that is pretty much his power set. That is what he has at his disposal, which is still fairly dangerous. Oh, I'll just throw somebody into space and forget about him. So with all of his abilities out of the way, I will present now what his stats look like. As far as the role-playing game Marvel Forever goes, this character sheet is him right here. Boom. Get a good look of his strength, his fighting, his intelligence. His highest stat is going to be his intuition. This is what makes him so dangerous besides his powers. He can pretty much say whatever it is he wants and be so persuasive. His intuition also helps him predict what his foes or people who are against him are going to be doing. Intuition is so many different things he could notice, slight little ticks. Intuition is his highest stat, and that's ability that, wasn't power based. Now the character sheet says Marvel Heroes. This is the character sheet that we use when we're role playing our Marvel game. This was made by a friend of mine a while back, and I've just been using the template for this for the most part. Now let's kind of get into his equipment real quick. He doesn't have too much in the way of equipment, but he does have a couple things. One of which, he has a pistol at his side. He's actually left-handed. I like the idea of the villain being left-handed because it's kind of like the devil's advocate as far as sword fighting goes, so I just figured it fit perfectly, which is like just a little extra thing about the character. But he's got a pistol on his left side that if he needs to shoot somebody for whatever reason, it's just an excellent damaging pistol for the purposes of the game. So it'd do like 20 damage or whatever, but he has a pistol. And on top of that, he's got two ion rippers, is what I'm calling them. They're like energy blade sort of things that he can just turn on and turn off. They're kind of like lightsabers. Most of the time, he actually has them off, even in a fight. And then he'll, hold up his arms like he's gonna go for a punch, and then just turn them on and turn them off real quick, like so he can stab at somebody and them not really realizing the length of the weapon. He uses it very conservatively to make people not sure what it can do, but those things are something he actually made himself, but they cut through a good decent amount of things. And if he can't cut through something, he'll phase through it, and then halfway through the phase, he'll just stop phasing and then just have the energy on the other side of whatever it is he was trying to cut. So that's how he uses those things. And then he's got his armor. His armor is pretty capable. It'll save him against a lot of things, bullets, swords, other type of weapons. So in the game, it'll save him up to about 30 points of damage, which is what most of us heroes have, is about 30 points of protection. And then anything beyond that, he'll just be taking damage to himself. And the last thing he really kind of has as far as gear goes is he's got this little pocket that he can just pull out little frag bombs or little explosive things, something that'll just distract people for him to get away, smoke bombs, it's that sort of thing. So now that I've described his abilities and his equipment, if I were this villain, this is what I would be doing. So very first things first, I have all this equipment, I got all this stuff. What is the first thing I would do? Well, the first thing would be what I feel like most criminals would do: get money, and I could just teleport into any bank anywhere in the world, perhaps all of the banks in the world as a matter of fact, and just take all of the money. Why would I take all of the money? Well, I think that the world has an imbalance when it comes to the way it functions. Money makes the world work, right? Everybody needs money, everybody needs a job, everybody needs to function to a certain degree with money. And me as a villain, I kind of disagree with that. So I would just take all of the money. It would essentially force the world to come up with a new form of either currency, perhaps a world currency that everyone could use. We got euros over here that are worth X amount. We've got this over here that's worth Y amount. That translates over to this. No. None of that nonsense. We should, as a global force, I guess, a global civilization, we should have one type of money. We should have one consistent thing, and that would pretty much protect us from inflation from ourselves, if that makes sense as well. So I would get rid of all the money first. My next step is to kind of find the people like the Elon Musk, the Jeff Bezos, all the people who were like eccentric millionaire, billionaire, trillionaires. I've gotten rid of all the money, so that doesn't matter anymore. But these guys have still companies. It's not like because I got rid of the world's money and they have to figure out a new way to make that work. It's not like every single company in the world has just stopped working. Obviously, these guys aren't scientists, but I would start saying, hey, this is what you're going to do now. You're going to start making technologies. You're going to start investing in things that are productive. Things like renewable energies. I'd also shut down everything that isn't renewable throughout time. I wouldn't just shut down all the energy because there are hospitals running on that stuff. But throughout time, this is like a long-term goal sort of thing. This is why he had regeneration, was so he could live longer to do all this stuff. Besides the point. I would demand new forms of technology, essentially. Like, the human race has not evolved long enough as far as technology is concerned. We should have stuff that's collecting solar energy from the sun out in space where there's no atmosphere and then sending that energy down to Earth. Like, stuff like that. We could have that. Flying cars, we already had flying cars that ran on water. It's just nobody could invest in it because it didn't make money. Forget all that nonsense. We should be propelling ourselves as a civilization, not holding ourselves back because of money. So I'd be fixing all of that. Government stuff, I would pretty much make them figure that out. Why are we having wars? I would control every single leader as far as coercion goes, or however I would need to do that. If anybody was going to go to war, if any country was going to go to war, I would have this table, pretty much. Every single leader of every nation is going to go to that meeting, whether they like it or not. I'd demand it. And then I would sit there with all of them and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. Why are you going to war over something like this? Whatever purpose or reason, I would stop that immediately. If anybody disagreed with my decision, I'm a villain. I can just kill that leader, appoint a new leader, and they're going to do what I say. So I'd become kind of like the head of the world as far as making people do what I tell them to. Every country, they can still run themselves, but it'd be almost like the Illuminati, or how people imagine it. All the world's leaders meeting up in one room and me just saying, this is how I want things done, and this is how you're going to do it. And if you don't, I'll just kill you or kill whoever and then elect somebody who's going to do what I tell them to, period. That's just it. And it is very much a tyrant situation for sure. But it's also like a weird situation where he's like, you're going to be healthy, you're going to eat right, and you're going to like it. That sort of thing. Like, I'm trying to help all of you people. How can you defy me when I'm here to save all of you from yourselves? So better technology, fix this whole squabbling between human, like the age of war is done. Like, no more of that nonsense. People don't need to go die because there's a disagreement of one country's politics over another, or we need oil from this country. All right, well, that's the whole point of renewable energy, isn't it? All of that would essentially be done through time. And there'd be a myriad of other things on top of that. Food that could be sustainable for everyone, plant-based stuff, because that stuff's actually a lot easier to make and isn't so destructive on the environment when you look into it. So that sort of stuff being readily available for every country and every nation, having a proper food supply for everyone, not just America having a shit ton of food and then Africa just starving to death or whatever. I would have all of that handled. Food, technology, science and medicine, the whole pharmaceutical company thing. Yeah, no, that'd also be done because that was all functioning on money to begin with. So now that there's like a new world currency, of course they'd still try and do corrupt stuff, but I can just go to the CEO or the head of any company of anything, like I said before, and just teleport to them immediately if I see them doing anything wrong with my clairvoyance, teleport to them and go, no, you're going to be developing this medicine because I said you're just going to. You're going to find whatever, and why is it being charged up or marked up for money? No, none of that. You're going to do it this way. You're going to release this medicine either for free or through like a healthcare system. I'd have to figure all that out, but I'm a villain with all the time in the world, so of course I'd be figuring this stuff out all the time. So no more of this pharmaceutical, we'll just give them like weaker medicines or stuff that isn't strong enough, or things that don't cure things fast enough so people have to buy more. No, I'm here for the betterment of humanity. So I would fix how all of that goes as well. Let's see, so we got rid of war, we fixed food, world peace, all that good stuff. Removing greed from companies. I'd be the only person who could technically be greedy and nobody could stop me. But that would be that would be kind of like the antithesis of what I'm trying to do, because I know that if I ever was defeated, there would just be another person in my place. So lead by example, I guess. As far as all of that stuff goes, really the only things that could be left is like small stuff, like social issues that could be, like let's say the feminist rise, as far as like all of whatever that represents and everything that's supposed to be and everything that it is. I would kind of just leave that stuff to be, human beings will figure that out. There's a balance in the world that naturally comes to be. There's an order that eventually comes around. So I could just leave all of that be and not have to worry about the world burning down, because if there were just potential crazy riots and like everyone was like losing their minds because one side is for some reason getting better whatever than the other, I can just fix that. It's like I have the responsibility of just making laws and just having them passed. I could be just the guy to do whatever I need to, but for the most part, all of that stuff will just get figured out in time. So everything that's smaller scale, that could be just taken care of. And there would be other things too that I'd be interested in. Projects like, if there ever was a hypothetical meteor, I would have just space programs invented to destroy meteors or space-bound things to protect the Earth, stuff like that. Now, I've heard a lot of stuff about like aliens, and I had thought about if I was a villain, and let's say aliens were contributing to some sort of hypothetical society in the human race, I would definitely have words with them too, depending on what kind of words they have, but it would be kind of along the lines of like working together, but I would know that whatever abilities I had, they would be definitely interested in, because the type of power that comes with instant teleportation isn't just limited to Earth, that's anywhere in the universe. So of course aliens are going to be interested in something like that, if they don't already have technology equivalent to it. So it'd be kind of just figuring out how it would relate to them, and that's all just hypothetical stuff of like, well, what would I do with aliens? Well, it depends on what they wanted. Do they want to enslave the human race? Doubtful, because if they wanted to, they would have already. Yeah, so all of that is kind of what I would do as a villain. I would save the world as a villain is what I would do. It would just be through means that are not so honorable. The villain mentality is you have to crack a couple eggs. Who cares if I have to get rid of maybe a couple hundred corrupt people to save a world of billions? Of course, my logic there is sound enough. I've done everything. World peace, solved hunger, protected the world from space-bound things. Civilizations or technology is just rising, flying cars, everything that we imagine a utopia to be, I could achieve through means of just force and telling people what to do. Hell, I wouldn't even have to kill most of the people, perhaps. I did mention the dimensional prison. I could just throw those people away and lock them in my dimensional prison for however long I felt like they should be there until I fixed the world. It's not like I have to kill everyone, but I just could if I wanted to. And that is everything I would do as a supervillain. If it was me as JP right now, if I just inherited these powers, that's probably what I would do. So the next little section, this is going to be the last section of the video, I actually wanted to do a hypothetical crossover between my Marvel character and this guy. So I'll set the scene here real quick of the hypothetical scenario that they would run across this villain. And the Drifters, which is the heroes that are my team. So I'm Ultima X, and the Drifters are the characters that are also with him. There's Johnny Impossible, Sky Paladin, Marathon Man, Static Shift, Dr. Love, myself, obviously, Ultima X. And I think those are the ones who would probably most likely be there. Oh, and Cupid. So let's say all of these heroes are there. How many was that? So pretty much 7 heroes against this one guy. And let's say they're meeting up on a rooftop. This guy has been an issue for San Francisco. So all of this team goes and meets up with him, and he's on this rooftop. And they're pretty much surrounding him. One guy and this whole team of superheroes. And this is kind of how that would really go. And I'm just going to speak for Machiavellian and Ultima X.
So, you finally arrived. Took long enough.
Mind turning yourself in, or are we gonna have to do this the hard way?
No, you don't have the time to fight me. I've placed bombs all over San Francisco to detonate in 1 hour. Well, 56 minutes from now. Here are your locations. You can try to fight me and lose. Or you can find the bombs and potentially save people. 55 minutes.
The characters will then, go, oh, well, damn, we could just fight the guy, but let's get the bombs. We've been in a situation like this before where terrorists have detached something on themselves to hurt civilians, so we had to just go against those things instead of capturing the villains. So naturally, we would go after the bombs. As we do, we pick up these proxy bombs, and they're all just timers with wirings that appear to be bombs, but upon closer inspection, it's just a gadget with a timer on it. It's nothing. And then there would be a broadcast over the audio of the city, taking over what sort of videos or whatever's going on. He would just take over all of that, and he would say this.
You have all failed as heroes. I have just proven that none of you has what it takes to save the world. You chose to save perhaps 30 people at best, when I have the potential to kill millions. I can poison the water of every city and shut off the power to every hospital in America in less than a day. And you chose to find fake bombs and trust my words. You are fools. This is why I am here to save everyone, when you cannot. I alone can save this world from itself. So why don't you clowns retire, and I'll handle it from here.
End of transmission. So, that is pretty much what that interaction would turn out to be. It would be Machiavellian just, seemingly outclassed by the heroes and then outwitting them in some way, shape, or manner to prove a point. To just say, yeah, heroes, you guys aren't shit. I can do better than any of you on any given day. But somewhere along the lines, this is just for David. Somewhere along the lines of, him shitting on heroes, of them not being really good enough, he would actually give some sort of respect or acclaim to Nathan Burning Sky. He would actually go, well, he's made some things for the world. He's done some things. And there might be some other scientists in your world that he would pay a little bit of, respect to, because the stuff they've done is, for the benefit of, millions and billions, not making a battery, because that's just a convenience of technology, but stuff like terraforming California with water and having water purification plant stuff, that sort of thing that would just benefit millions of people. He kind of has respect for people who do stuff like that. He would have mad respect for Dr. Doom as well, because Dr. Doom has saved the world on multiple occasions. So that's as far as that villain goes. He has certain respects for villains in your world if he was around. This is hypothetical, alternate dimension stuff, but all of that was kind of the goal. That was the idea of making the character and the purpose, I guess. So if anybody else has any ideas of what they would do as this villain, you could just comment down below. Oh, well, I'd probably do this. I'd probably just kill everyone, or I'd just get bitches and make money, however you would go about it. That's cool. But yeah, that was pretty much it. Yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. I know this was kind of a long video, but it was just something I wanted to do for a while, so here it is. I will get another video out to you guys later about just whatever. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of V-Talks.